Good morning, everyone. It's another beautiful day here in our mountains, Kentucky mountains. There used to be a show on the radio my husband and I would listen to. It was called, what was it called? I forgot. But there's one sentence that the guy used. Oh, what was his name? He's passed away now too, I think. And that was about stories on Lake Wobegon. Yeah, now I'm gonna bet you guys remember if any of you listened to that. And that is it. That is all from the. I call this song. This is all from not from Lake Wobegon, but from the Wooten Farm. Yeah. Oh my gosh, loved listening to that show. It's such a good show. And the guy who was the main narrator on that, or led the show, his voice was an amazing voice for a radio voice. And my husband and I ended up going. He came to Berkeley and had a live show there, and we ended up going. Oh, what was that? They called again. It'll maybe come to my mind later on. Yes, I'm getting ready for my son to come. So excited. Oh, who doesn't love to spend time with their children, right? Yes, doing something too. So I got all kinds of things ready for him. Really short things, that, again, mainly having to do with lifting, that are where I'm going to go, can you just take this real quick out there? And could you just really quick do this? And could you go get some water downstairs? It rained here for 2 days, which means what? Water! Our spring downstairs was starting to really get low and dry up. It happens. Pretty much if we have a really wet spring, it's going to be a more dry autumn, and vice versa. Yes, you can kind of go by that. Yeah, of course, don't predict it's going to be always like that, but it's kind of been proven to be that way. So, I think I mentioned before, we did have to order some water. And one thing that's really sad about our volunteer fire department that we have here, that's attached to our region here, our little sector here, is that the guys, right, that 20 years ago when we first moved, we're younger, right, are getting older and are having a harder time to do things, and there aren't any younger people stepping into their footsteps. There just aren't. And it's really sad. So, well, one thing, right, that I considered, and that is coming firsthand from talking to people. And the one thing, that then I wonder, okay, we have amazing young people around here, right? Men and women. They're amazing. They're just amazing. It's like we've got this little county here in the Kentucky mountains, southeastern Kentucky. And we're popping out amazing young people. We have amazing older people, right? And young people. Amazing. They do all kinds of amazing things. And so I wonder if the younger generation just doesn't know. Right? Yes? Are they being recruited? Well, where would you do that? I'd probably go to the high school. Yes? Well, anyway, so again, what, I don't know. Was it like that in 40, 50 years ago? Were fire departments hurting? Not having enough people? Or has that technical age that we're in now, right? Internet, computers, everybody wants to do things with computers, this, that, I sit behind the desk. I don't know, go out. College is available to just about everyone now, right? Yes, just about. It is available to everyone. And is that it? Or again, is it? You have to be out there and find the right people. I don't know. I'm sure they are trying. Yes. So to think that in another uh, 5 years or so, we won't have our little volunteer fire department because there aren't any people to man it. Yeah. That's kind of sad to me. Yes. Yeah. So I've been thinking about that and see if there's anything I can do. Having been a part of that as well, I'll tell. Physically, yeah. You gotta be in good physical shape to be a part of that department, really, when it comes down to. Now, as a woman, just cooking and, helping organize things or be there at the festivals with the food booth, right? Maybe not so much as when you have to go and put out fires, right? Go and help people out. Yes, but still, I can hardly even do that. Yes, so limited on the time that my body is willing to do what it needs to do. Still enough to go to the barn. Anyway, so to recruit young men, mainly, well, women could too, right? And it's a physically really, really challenging job. Yes? Okay. And this little department definitely it's the where are the men, what's their job, where are the women, what's their job. It's really well balanced. Yes, yeah. Oh, so you don't, whatever, you guys can look at it how you want to. It's a good thing to take care of our guys when they're doing such tasking jobs and are volunteering for it, right? Like coming and putting out your fire in your house, right? Moving a tree or something has fallen, whatever they do. Lots of different things, right? Yes? I don't know why women out there have to fight for their rights to want to be like men. That's silly. Or the other way around. That's just silly. Can we just acknowledge it's silly? And yeah, okay. So in some people's minds, that's something that, all right, okay. Well, you can't change that, right? But when it comes down to it, right, positions in order for a little fire department to stay open need to be filled according to what? The strength of either man or woman. Yes? All right. Not that hard to understand, is it? All right. So let's get going here. I said, I love my husband does the heavy work, which, as I said, I try to help and I suffer. And then, I say, I'll cook you a good meal. What would you like? And his eyes light up. What you got? Right? Yes? All right. Okay. Which brought me to something. Yeah. So, all right. So then, are certain uh, activities that men or women do just assigned to either one? Well, let me tell you something on that one. Again, it just depends on how you look at it. And if you want to just say, well, yeah, okay, here, yeah, sure, right? That's a good example of on where a man's place can be as well, or a woman's, for example. But to argue and fight over things like that, or to okay, it's just silly, right? But in Switzerland, for example, where I grew up, every bakery that I've been in, and they had lots of little bakeries, oh my gosh. I mean, if you would have grown up like I did with the bread and the pastries and that we had, made every morning fresh, okay? Ah, man, you'd look here at there's certain things but people can buy, and you're just gonna go, bleh. Why would I eat that? Right? Yes? Okay. So, I felt about donuts like that. I couldn't figure out why people ate those. But then I came across someone who made really, really good donuts. The little store was called Dream Fluff. And guess who made it? It was a Vietnamese couple. Oh, sweetest people ever. Gosh, did my friend and I have a good time in there. And they were open really early as well, right? For the crowd in the morning who wanted donuts, yes, before they went to work. Yeah, oh my gosh. How wonderful. And of course, they had coffee too. All right. There we go. But every bakery that I knew in Switzerland growing up, there were lots of them, was run by a guy. It was the guy who made the bread. The man who made the bread. The man who got up at 4 o'clock in the morning or earlier, started knitting the dough, this, that. Yes? Yeah. And usually the wife was behind the counter. Yes? Isn't that something? Aha! Yeah, they were little family owned, taken over by, from generation to generation. And the interesting thing is, the reason that came to my mind is I love watching the British baking show, and they have a new season out now. That not all of the episodes are there. I guess they're in the process, but there's some of them I watch. Now, I love that show. I really do. Okay, I mean, I rewatched the other ones twice now. Just because you miss some things, because I always do something while I'm watching TV or something. And here's a new season, and in this one, they have a new. There's this one guy. You know what? I've been watching this guy. Supposedly has been on the show for 7 years, and I can't remember his name. Don't know his name. He's really funny. I like him. He's a bit weird with some things, but and then they had different other ones that kind of do the MC part of the show, right? Then of course there's Paul Hollywood and Prue. I don't know her last name. And so they have a new lady this time. Her name, and I know her name. Her name is Allison, and I love her. She is wonderful, and you could tell she's kind of being eased in, so that again, people how they are, and what's the other one? Oh, we're gonna get a new person. I don't get that kind of stuff. But anyway, so they ease her in. You can tell, and she has this motherly kind of, because it can get really emotional for the bakers, right? Yes, especially when they mess up due to some silly thing, and right, oh, I'm on the bottom now. Okay, so she has this motherly kind of, brings this motherly care to the show, right? Yes, I love it. Okay, all right. So, come to find out in this season that Paul Hollywood's father also was a baker, and that he learned from his father. Yes, especially making what? Bread. So that's why that came to my mind, going, interesting, it's true. Every bakery that I went to, that I knew, and of course you knew the people there, right? It's so small, this and that, small communities, were run by a man. Isn't that something? Yes? Okay, all right. Just saying. So, but knitting a lot of dough, right? Now they got machines and stuff, but knitting a lot of dough, and it's hard work. It's really hard work, right? Yes? Okay. Da da da. All right. Of course, I'm sure the wives help out with certain other things, right? That they make. All right, we're in 2 Samuel 14. So there is a balance there, and for people now to try to pull all these things out of balance, right, for one reason or another, it's always for a selfish agenda. Like there's no, just don't even talk to me about that stuff, you know? I mean, God Almighty. Uh, but balance, right? The balance is to be had, and it's always could been had. It's always people who want to just, right? So I wondered this morning, is it such a good thing? Or do we have, with all the, machines we have invented, the internet we have invented, which, communication all around the world. I kind of like that, but where have we taken it to? Is there still balance out there when it comes to all that? Or, like with so many things, it's completely been stretched into a direction that will be unhealthy for everyone. Yes? Yeah, okay, just saying. So, balance. So, look at balance of things. Yes? Yeah. Don't bring that up. Good and evil, there's no balance. I'm not. No. That's a different thing. Don't pull things into things that don't belong there. All right, 2 Samuel 14. Joab negotiates Absalom's return. When Absalom had gone to Geshur, he stayed there for 3 years. Wait a minute, we already had that. Now we're on 14. That's the last little bit. That was still on 13. It's really interesting on how they start the next little passage here, like in the middle of somewhere. So let's read that just a little part. Once the king was consoled over Amnon's death, his anger against Absalom subsided. Now 14 starts. Now Joab, son of Zeruiah, observed that the king was favorably inclined to Absalom. Joab therefore sent to Tekoa for a wise woman. Pretend to be in mourning, he said. What now? Dress yourself in mourning. Do not perfume yourself. Act like a woman who has long been mourning for the dead. Then go to the king and say this to him. And Joab put the words into her mouth which she was to say. So the woman of Tekoa, who that has no name, went to the king and, falling on her face to the ground, prostrated herself. Help, my lord king, she said. The king said, what is the matter? As you see, she replied, I am a widow. My husband is dead. Your servant had 2 sons, and out in the fields, where there was no one to intervene, they had a quarrel, and one of them struck the other one and killed him. Sounds like Cain and Abel. And now the whole clan has risen against your servant. Give up the man who killed his brother, they say, so that we can put him to death, to atone for the life of the brother whom he has murdered. And thus we shall destroy the heir as well. By this means they will extinguish the ember still left to me, leaving my husband neither name nor survivor on the face of the earth. Then the king said to the woman, go home, I myself shall give orders about your case. The woman of Tekoa said to the king, my lord king, may the guilt be on me and on my family. The king and his throne are innocent of it. Bring me the man who threatened you, the king replied, and he shall never hurt you again. She then said, let the king be pleased to pronounce the name of Yahweh your God, so that the avenger of blood may not do greater harm and destroy my son. As Yahweh lives, he said, no, not one of your son's hairs shall fall to the ground. Now, where does David take his... So there's one thing, he says, okay, just go on, I'll deal with this case. He says to the woman. Now, if this were actually true, okay, and the thing is, all he could do is go and see, okay, is that actually true, and find out it's not true, and then say, oh, what was that all about? Okay, so you see this roundabout kind of thing, deceiving and lying, and then, to make a point or whatever, or to, I don't know, to get, we know where this is going with the story and what Joab is trying to do, right? But how is he doing it again? Because here is the thing. Why did David not say, well, let me go and look in Scripture? Because we have direction from God. God gave direction to Moses, to Aaron, on how to deal with situations like that. Yes? Yes or no? And kinship shouldn't have anything to do with it. Yes? Besides, why would Joab use this woman with a story with only 2 sons? How many sons does King David have? Right? I'm just saying. Yes? Where is the balance here? Yes? So some, because of the circumstances of the parents or this or that, some will get away with murder without any kind of punishment. Because. While in other cases, the same thing happens and capital punishment is put in place. Oh, you see, where is this already going again? Yet God's pulled into it any which way. Who wants to? Well, Joab, for one. This woman's just an instrument, a tool to be used. And then David, but does he really consult God in all this? Well, anyway, let's continue reading. And as Yahweh lives, he said, not one of your son's hairs shall fall to the ground. Well, what's he doing here? He's already, don't worry, nothing's going to happen to your son because I say so. Regardless of what he's done. I see, something does not compute here. Not when it comes to, this is the Bible, this is supposed to be a guide for our lives. Yes? I'd say in this case it's a study guide. What's going on here? And maybe again, okay, where's the balance here? There's no balance. None. And again, God's guidance is not even considered. Right? Though he's given it to all of the Israelites. All right, let's keep going. Yeah. Then the woman said, permit your servant to say something else to my lord the king. Go on, he said. The woman said, why then has the king, who by giving this verdict has condemned himself, conceived the idea against God's people's interest of not bringing home the son whom he has banished? We are all mortal. We are all like water spilt on the ground, which cannot be gathered up again, nor does God raise up a corpse. Let the king therefore make plans for his banished son, not to remain far away from him in exile. Well, again, here too, one could say, well, yeah, but Absalom, why did he kill his own brother? His brother was evil. His brother did really, really wrong. Some may consider, well, it was just, who knows what really happened in that tent, right? Yes. Well, people need to remind each other, remind themselves as well, that why were Adam and Eve expelled out of the Garden of Eden? Because they ate an apple? All right. Not going anywhere. Not going to go any further. As I said, I don't get it how people think out there sometimes. Now, the reason why I came to speak about this to my lord the king is that I was being intimidated, and your servant thought, I shall speak to the king. Perhaps the king will do what his servant asks. Surely the king will consent to save his servant from the clutches of the man who is trying to cut both me and my son off from God's heritage. Let a word from my lord the king restore the peace. Your servant thought, for my lord the king is like the angel of God in understanding good and evil. May Yahweh your God be with you. Whoa, you know what? Yeah, ooh. Now again, when I read this in the way that she is now addressing David, right? It's a snare. This is a trap, okay? And only if you have studied the Bible, if you have studied God's will, if you have examined your heart to mind and your conscience and your willingness to have a relationship with the creator of it all, including us, then you will be ensnared and trapped here. Done. Okay? I can already see where this is going. Where David now basically put the sling around his own neck. And now, because he's given the woman already judgment over and judgment for her son. I mean, in favor of her son that's still living, right? Rather than, look, you had two sons. One took the life of the other. Did he consult with Yahweh then? When he did that? How did you raise your sons to get into such a quarrel that one kills the other? Now let's go and have a look on what the proper judgment is for that, punishment is for that. To do that to another human being, regardless if they are their sons or that they were brothers. Right? So, but who's being made the bad guy here? The one that wants to avenge, or per se says, you killed someone. What does it matter who you killed? And who says you won't again if you're not being held responsible for your actions? But that guy, right, that we don't know who it is really, he's just, is being made into what? And needs to be held up. I don't think he has the right to go and just kill that other guy, her son, either, if the story were true. But we already know it's not. The story is just made up. Yes? He should go before the king as well and say, we have a problem. Go look into scripture from Moses and Aaron, God given them with the Ark of the Covenant, and go see what the laws are for that. God's laws, God's guidance. Yes? Okay. Okay. So he was just replying to the woman. The king said, now do not evade the question which I am going to ask you. The woman said, let my lord the king ask his question. Is not Joab's hand behind you in all this? Yeah, David, you already gave your opinion. So he already knew about it, which means he took this in a direction where he could bring Absalom home. Wow. Everybody using everybody here to evade what? Proper judgment. All right, that's interesting too. I didn't see that one coming. Is not Job's hand behind you in all this? The king asked. The woman replied, as you live, my lord king, I cannot escape what my lord the king says, either to right or to left. Yes, it was your servant Joab who gave me my orders. He put all these words into your servant's mouth. Your servant Joab did this to approach the matter indirectly. But my lord has the wisdom of the angel of God. He knows everything that happens on earth. Whoopity, 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 you. That's what you call flattery. The king then said to Joab, very well, the suit is granted. Go and bring the young man Absalom back. Joab fell on his face to the ground, prostrated himself, and blessed the king. My lord king, Joab said, today your servant knows that he has won your favor, since the king has done what his servant asked. Joab then set off, went to Geshur, and brought Absalom back to Jerusalem. The king, however, said, let him retire to his own house. He is not to appear in my presence. So Absalom retired to his own house and was not received by the king. It's an interesting story. I know what I have said all, right? And again, what's missing in it all? Would it have been so hard for Joab just to go to the king and say, look, this is what happened, then this is what happened. We have proper punishment for that. And due to the fact that Amnon had done such a dirty deed, which again, can you tell that to the king who did the same thing? Hey, I tell you what. I guess this would be one of those one hand washes the other. Hey. Okay. Some details about Absalom. In all Israel, there was no one more praised for his beauty than Absalom. For from the sole of his foot to the crown of his head, he could not be faulted. When he cut his hair, he shaved it once a year because his hair got too heavy. He would weigh the hair, 200 shekels, king's weight. Forget it. Some details about Absalom. He weighed his own hair. And we have... I'm sorry, guys. That's funny, though. You have to admit that's funny. All right. 200 shekels. King's weight. Oh my gosh. To Absalom were born 3 sons and 1 daughter called Tamar. She was a beautiful woman. Oh, he called his daughter Tamar. Aww. Considering what probably the consequence of Tamar having been raped and losing her virginity at that time, and it was like this. That's a really yes, that's a really nice thing to do. Unless, of course, now we're getting all confused again, like I did yesterday. That wasn't his grandson. What was his name? That one. It's his nephew. Right. But anyway, it was his nephew. I referred to him as David's grandson. That was wrong too. Unless that beautiful daughter called Tamar was actually his sister. Surely they wouldn't mix that up like that. All right. Absalom obtains his pardon. Absalom lived in Jerusalem for 2 years without being received by the king. Absalom then summoned Joab, intending to send him to the king, but Joab would not come to him. He sent for him a second time, but still he would not come. At this, Absalom said to his retainers, look, Joab's field is next to mine, and he has barley in it. Go and set it on fire. What? Oh, jeez. So, man, Absalom's retainers set fire to the field. Joab then stirred himself, went to Absalom in his house, and asked, why have your retainers set my field on fire? Yeah, right. Absalom replied to Joab, look, I sent word to you, come here, so that I can send you to the king to say, why come back from Geshur? Better for me to have been there still. Now I want to be received by the king, and if I am guilty, let him put me to death. Joab went to the king and told him this. He then summoned Absalom, who prostrated himself with his face to the ground before the king. And the king kissed Absalom. I guess that's how you get a reaction out of someone. You go and burn down their whole field of barley. So you can go do what? Why didn't he just go and himself and just... he says, well, if I've done wrong, then put me to death. Well, what? He couldn't go himself and just, okay, I'm going to stand here until you receive me or put me to death. Why did he have to involve Joab? Oh, because he has such influence over David. Oh, I guess. Okay, work. I'm amazed that Joab wasn't more mad at Absalom for doing what he did to his field. Well, anyway. And the king kissed Absalom. All right. There you go. Reunited, reconciled in their own way. Well, that's a good thing. I didn't say it was a good thing. Just that's man's way. Yes? None of what just happened here was done God's way. Nope. Nope. So, anywho, so there it is. Sometimes I wonder, now reading through all this again, passage by passage, right? Did the Israelites really believe there was a God? Yes? Or was God just used? How was he used in this passage? Yes? Okay. There is something where, and I've used it myself, and I question myself every time, per se, or given the advice, well, just look at the pros and the cons. And then, go according to that, with the decision making. And I realized that, wow, that's why would you do that? Because regardless, right, even if the cons are more, it doesn't mean that the pros that are less wouldn't outweigh the cons, right? Yes? And I realized on how the way I react to things often now, okay, it's one of those things where, well, if you have this constant give and take with spirit world, right? And how is that now for me? Is it the same as it was before when I was young? Then in my teens, early, when I was learning on what is actually going on here. How am I supposed to work in both of these worlds? And where's my place here? Okay. As an individual, not as a man or as a woman, as an individual created by God in a certain way, right? With, as I said, lots of give and take with spirit world. Now, I would say I probably have, considering and how it was, how spirit world made itself known to me years ago, now this has all really stabilized. And the give and take is natural. It isn't a separate thing anymore. It's just there. It's always there. So it's become all one. Both worlds within me, around me, have become one. So I never look at the cons. I always only look at the pros. It doesn't matter what happens to me. I always look at, wow, that's the great thing about that is that I can still. The amazing thing is that it isn't worse. Do you see what I mean? The cons. shouldn't exist. You should only look at the pros. That's odd, isn't it? Well, think about it. Just give it one day where you never look at anything in the negative, where you always say, okay, what's the pros in all this? Even though I just went through something very difficult, what are all the pros about it? And have no give and take with the cons. Do you know what I mean? Then steer your life according to that, in a direction according to that. Inadvertently, that will lead you to God. That's a direct way. Yes. Sounds to me that Joab, David, this woman even, who, well, okay, she said, well, I was told to do it. Right? What if she just said, I'm not doing that. I'm going to go to the king and tell him how it is. How about that? Can I do that? Would Joab have killed her? I'm just wondering. Even Absalom. Everything's done kind of in a roundabout way. Roundabout. Yes? You know how you can get to the left side with never going left? You go right around the block. Then you end up on the left. And vice versa. Yes? It's a weird one, right? I know. So there it is. That's all I have to share this morning. I got to go to the barn. Also, I'm going to have to think what I'm going to cook for my son. Interestingly enough, he's still, I don't know if he's just gotten used to it now, but we both had the Lone Star tick, which you can't eat red meat. No red meat, no pork. It makes you really sick. Both ends. You just get really sick from it. And there's no cure. You have to just let it run its course. Kind of starve it out by not giving the tick or the disease that the tick carries what it wants, which is what? Red meat and pork. I'm not sure what it is in pork, but you can't eat deer either. It was terrible. I went through it for 2 years. But I went on a natural antibiotic here that made out of lichen and Eucina strigosa, and I felt that really helped. And within a short amount of time, I was able to eat everything I wanted again. It started slowly. My son's been not being able to do that for over 4 years. Yeah. Oh, why don't I give him that? Yeah, well, it's not like I didn't tell him. You can't make people believe something if they don't want to. But he's I'm not sure how his reactions were, if they were or even worse than mine were, but I've read up on it, and people can get really, really sick with this tick disease. And I must have had, maybe because my system's so good, otherwise, my immune system works pretty darn good. Probably because of all the stuff I'm taking out there. Eat healthy, eat good. That my system just had an easier time working it out. But I've seen some of the side effects of this disease in other people that when I read up on it, it's horrific. So my son's still kind of leery, doesn't want to take any chances, and it can take up to 5 years to get over this disease. So I would say he's getting there. I haven't asked him lately if he's eating red meat again or not, but I have some fish in the freezer, and I think I'm going to make us a delicious fish dinner tonight. Yes. He loves everything I cook. My son's great, just like my husband. They love everything I cook. And if it would be something that they're kind of going, I wonder what mom cooked today. You know what? They would never tell me. They would never say, Mom, yeah, or wife, They would never, ever, yeah. They just go, well, interesting taste. Yep, yep. Still good. Still good. Yep. Yes. Oh, that's sweet too. Yes. Okay. Well, that's all I have to share today. It just keeps on going and going. Aren't there any good parts in the Bible that I feel like, yep, so far, I got to get into the New Testament, don't I? Yes? Again, if one perceives this as, well, how about just get rid of the cons and just go into the pros? All right. Yes. What's the pros here? Father and son reunited again. So that's a good thing. Yes? Confucius has an interesting teaching where true forgiveness is to others when we accept their mistakes as trying to figure out the right way. And even if we get hurt terribly, this and that, if that is the case, then we have to be the grander person, don't we, when it comes to all that as well. Yes. It's a textbook, the Bible. It isn't just written law or this or that. To find that in there is very difficult. One has to be united with God. Not just where one wants to be, in everything. Yes? Then kind of pointing out the flaws is okay. Because if you don't do that, if we don't do that, if we're not willing to acknowledge the flaws, then how can anything get better for everyone? We don't excuse flaws. We fix them. Isn't that right? God's love and blessings always. May He protect you. And I will talk to y'all another time.